Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Sai vidmahe Sathya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Sai vidmahe Sathya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Sai vidmahe Sathya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam in Kanchipuram. Sai Ram and Namaste to all of you, those of you who are watching virtually. Welcome to the Satsang. In spirituality, there is really no time and space. So if you're thinking about us here, you are here with us. If you're watching us, then you are here with us as much as we are with you. Because Swami represents everything that is spiritual, and therefore today is a day we all come together and worship this one Guru who taught us, who showed us the path, who lived the path to oneness. This day is, I wouldn't even say it has mixed feelings. It has very somber feelings for all of us Sai devotees. Because no matter how much we celebrate the omniscience, the omnipotence, and the omnipresence of Sai, we still had the privilege and the good fortune of watching him talk, watching him walk, watching him be in Prashant Nilayam or Vrindavan, watching him smile, watching him just be regular human being, like somebody we could relate to, right? And to know that that is something which is of the past. Is something I think in our generation we cannot get over. It's we have to live with it, and therefore it's a day where we remind ourselves of the importance of a guru, the importance of his love, of his presence with us. And how much has he given us in so many ways. I know as devotees of Sai, we have a tendency to think, oh, you were a student, you were close to Swami, or I was not, and you were lucky, or I was not. That is a very relative way of measuring our relationship with God and with Guru. I think we miss the boat the moment we say that somebody else was closer. Those who were closer felt the previous generation of the 80s were even more closer. Those who were in the 80s think the 60s devotees were even more luckier because so there's no end to us feeling somebody else was closer than us. It is just a convenient way of us looking at ourselves as being very small or unworthy of being in love. But for Swami, it really didn't matter. I think all of us come into his fold, including at this very moment, the fact that we are here, either virtually or in flesh or in spirit. The fact that we are here contemplating is the Guru's grace. It is in Tamil they say, avan arulale avan thalbaning. It is that grace only that opens that opportunity to even to be thinking about him or speaking about him. So it is good to believe it is our effort, but it's far, far beyond that. It's a very divine orchestration. And there were umpteen number of times that Swami would tell us, as we would sit at his feet, Swami would say, you all don't know your good fortune. You all don't even know, have an idea of what is your fortune that you all are here. And of course, we would just, as young boys, we were just looking at Swami. We want to understand what he meant, but the brain mind is, there's a thick veil of Maya, if you will. So, not the Maya who's doing the live streaming downstairs, but the real Maya. So, we won't be able to grasp the importance of Swami. We couldn't. It is almost impossible. In a way, it was a blessing because that made us relate to him. That made us, speak to him and laugh at his jokes or press his feet without the fear of the omnipresence and the omniscience. There was love, if you will. But Swami would always say that. And then he would always add, knowing that we couldn't grasp it, he would say, y'all are all like frogs around a lotus. The bees come and take the honey. You're all sitting here in the shadow, under my shadow, not even understanding who I am. To me, I think it's virtually impossible for us to understand an avatar. And it is okay if the mind doubts the divinity. And I say this because there were umpteen number of times as a young boy, I couldn't bring my heart to believe in Swami. I was not raised in a Sai family. My youngster, I did 2 or 3 years in Chinmaya missions, Bal Vihar. The Bal Vihar, I did that. My parents sent me. Other than that, basic understanding of Bhagavad Gita and things like that, I didn't know Swami at all. I went to join his college because it was free education. My father was from Bombay. He had moved to Haryana. There was no place to go, so they were looking around. Long story short, I ended up in Swami's college. And so I had no idea of who he was. And so my batch of students who were with me, most of them rather, were from Sai devotees' families. Their grandfathers were devotees of Swami, because it was the first batch of college in Puttaparthi. So Swami would tell his known devotees, hey, send your grandson, send your son, or, it's like that. So the 50 or 60 of us who joined were literally in that fold. And therefore, I felt I was like a fish out of water. I had no clue who he was, no idea who he was. And then when I would see Swami materializing something, my mind will just go spinning, wanting to believe but unable to believe. And the point I'm saying that is many months later, or rather as they say, many moons later, it's almost 1.5 years later that I had a chance when Swami allowed me to perform. I did some gymnastic feats in front of Swami and he liked it a lot, and then he asked my name, and that's how it was a close encounter. For me, it was of the first kind with Swami. And that was a time almost as a confession, I said, Swami, my mind is not able to believe who you are. I'm not understanding. And so sweetly Swami said, that is normal. I thought he will say, no, you should never doubt, you should have faith. He said, that is normal, he said. And I couldn't understand that. And he was, graceful to explain. He said, you are trying to understand something with your mind. Where does the mind get its information? From 5 senses. What you smell, what you taste, what you see, what you touch, what you hear. That is all you can believe. The mind can only process the data it's coming through sense. And now I'm paraphrasing Swami's words in my own understanding. He says, so the mind, how can the mind understand something that is beyond? If the eye cannot see, the mind cannot understand. If the ears cannot listen, the mind cannot understand. So where will the mind understand faith? How will the mind understand love? These are the 2 things Swami asked. It cannot understand. So it is okay. You ignore it. Don't chase it. Don't try to correct the mind. It can never understand. Monkey mind will always be monkey because the monkey will always be jumping from here to there. Ignore it. That is not you. Open your heart. You will begin to understand. So there he, so beautifully, though I couldn't understand that right away, but over the years, I found it so beautiful that it's okay for the mind not to grasp divinity. Because we want to logically try and explain to ourselves everything, correct? Every decision of ours, there is a left brain that is very active. We want to take money from the bank, we have to think why. We have to put money in the bank, we have to think why. Every act, we cross the road, it's a left brain. When the right brain becomes active, then the left brain is not able to understand it. And therefore, the right brain or the creative mind or the heart, if you will, when emotions come into play, the logical mind has to surrender. And that's why I think in prayer, in faith, in the path of spirituality, the heart rules. The heart is the king. There is no other power other than the heart. And with that heart is what I learned to connect with Swami. Easter is very special because of this one prayer that we played in the beginning of this satsang, and I shared that small video with a few people on WhatsApp. Incidentally, we do have a small group called KYG Updates, so if any of you are interested, I can add you to the group. If anytime we do any satsangs, any programs, we just put it there as well. So you're most welcome to share your numbers with me. It was in 1980 that I had a chance to spend almost the whole year in Swami's room from early in the morning till late at night. Because like I said, I didn't know Swami. So the very first interview Swami asked, "Em kavala?" I said, "I want to be in your room." I was not audacious. It was not out of ego or pride. It was genuine curiosity. I wanted to see, I was asking myself, what does he do? If he's God, does he have a shower? Does he shave? Does he sleep? Does he levitate? Does he have a TV in his room? Does he have a sofa? How big is the sofa? I had all these questions. And I used to always ask some, those who were close to Swami or walk in and out, they'll say, "What is the room? Can you explain to me what is inside?" No, Sai Ram, they'll say and walk away. That made me even more curious. Why aren't they sitting and explaining to me? So the first time Swami asked me, I'm so grateful Mother Saraswati sat on my tongue and made me say that. Swami said, "Oh, acha, kal se aao, come from tomorrow." It was so simple. "What do you want?" "I want to be in your room." "Acha, kal se aao, come from tomorrow." I was so happy. I hugged him and he pushed me back and said, "You're spoiling my hair." And he pushed me back to the wall again. I can never forget those beautiful moments, and I'm so grateful to that. Because what happened in the weeks and months that followed, we would go early in the morning at about 5 o'clock, 4:35, we'll be in his room. And then till late night, till he goes into his bedroom, we'll be there. We're basically like servants in the house. If the rooms have to be cleaned, mopped, if there's any errands to be run, Swami would call us, and there were 4 or 5 of us. We used to call that the room duty, if you will. But in those months that followed, I had the opportunity of seeing him spend his every day in the privacy of his chambers, in that mandir, truly. And to me, that is the most powerful days. That's where my curiosity turned into admiration, admiration turned into love and devotion. Surrender is something I'm still learning, so that's a lifelong process. But that curiosity turning into admiration, because I couldn't bring to myself, how could somebody live such an austere life? As a young boy, being brought up in Mumbai, that time we used to call it Bombay, being brought up in Bombay, I thought, if Sai Baba is going in a Mercedes-Benz car and he's sitting on silver thrones, then inside it must be like golden something inside. It must be like super, like what do you call that, 5-star comfort it must be there. How come he's talking of simple living, high thinking? So I couldn't match the two, right? I wanted first-hand in experience. And I'm saying this only because with God, I feel, I truly believe this, even to this day, and in different levels, of course. We have to go and seek our direct experience. My story can entertain you all, can inspire you all. Your story can entertain me, can inspire me. But your story and your faith cannot become my faith. My faith cannot become your faith. Your faith cannot be your children's faith. You can tell them, inspire them, but they have to find their own, that click has to happen within them. You all know that, right? We all have, why do we feel a personal connection with Swami? That's because something happened in our lives that made us feel, oh my God, this is for me. It's me and him. No matter who tells what, I know in my heart. That knowing, that first-hand knowing is so important, whether we are physically close to Swami or not, or we seek God in matters of spirit. I think that's very, very important. To me, that was so useful and so beneficial that I had my own experience. So today I can say with all my heart that no matter who tells what, I know because I have experienced Swami. And so to me, that direct one-on-one watching him was so important. And so when I walked into his room, it was a complete shock for me because it was completely different from what I thought it would be. Because downstairs is silver thrones and chairs like this, so beautiful. He looks in this bhajan hall chair, which is how we knew him throughout the 80s and well into the 90s. Inside it was simply one straight back Appa included. You know how you enjoy the recliner. So anyway, there was no recliner, but this is a straight back chair. One waste paper, a trash can on one side for him to tear letters and put in. On the other side, there'll be a pile of letters on table and letters. So that was his entertainment. No, there was no TV on the wall or TV. Those days, flat screen TV was not even in my imagination, right? It was the bigger the box, the greater the thing was. There was no television. There was nothing. Just blank stone. That is Kailaya or Kailasham. Because it's not the way we think it is. The more sensual it is, the more exciting for the senses. We think spirit, beauty has its own definition. I can't define what it is, what Swami saw. But to me, that admiration came because my simple question was, how can one human being live like that? One day, yes. One weekend, yes. 1 week, you and I will be blogging and vlogging about how we are living an austere life. Within the room, Swami's room is just barely 1/4 of this hall. It's just 10 feet by 10 feet. For those of you who have been in the interview room downstairs, it's the same thing upstairs. His bedroom is even smaller than that, maybe 8 feet by 10 feet or something. One window, most of those wooden panels are closed. Only one small window will be open for some amount of air to come in. Even that has got a thick mosquito mesh. I say this every time, and every time I relive that because it is to remind me, oh my gosh, there is so much more we have than he didn't. And yet we have room to go to him and ask for more. It's amazing. And he didn't have any of what we have today by way of comforts. Nothing. It was an austere life. In that heat, perhaps the stone walls gave some kind of relief because it was not warm. It was not, the heat couldn't penetrate the stone walls maybe. But just imagine, it is stone walls. It's like a fancy dungeon. Why would he imprison himself in that? At least Yajur Mandir and all of that came much later, much bigger place. But alas, he was then on a wheelchair. But Swami never really enjoyed a big mansion where he can walk freely in the privacy of his place, where he can, go from kitchen to the living room or come to his bedroom. He couldn't, right? But he didn't complain about that at all. That the beauty of that was, even in that small little room upstairs, he had the energy of the sun. Always optimistic, always outgoing, always energized, if you will, always wanting to give. And to me, that, even to this day, to me, that those are the greatest signs of his divinity. Because a normal human being cannot survive with that. Just think of Swami's life, right? He gets up in the morning, he listens to Omkaram, and he is up much before the Suprabhatam. I don't know why we chant the Suprabhatam to wake up home. He's awake before that because he has to have a shower and his hair has to dry and he has to come out for darshan. Those days, by 6:15, 6:30, sometimes Swami will come out for darshan. Barely the Nagar Sankirtan will get over and he's out, itching to come out and spend time with the devotees. Literally, Swami will be looking forward for every moment to speak to the boys or to the devotees. He will want to. And any moment, any chance he gets to come and mingle with devotees, he would look forward to coming and doing that. And so he comes, he takes devotees into his room, he speaks to them, and he's absorbing all their prayers, their wants. Like in an interview, what people are going to say, Swami, thank you, we don't want anything. They are going to say, Swami, bless this, spell that, this one, this. So that laundry list, he takes care of that. He comes to the bhajan, all daya karo, kripa karo, moksha do. We got another laundry list, now we sing it out to him. Imagine that morning and evening, every day, day in and day out, day in and day out. Sometimes when I read an email of somebody going through a difficult time and they just say, Brother Sundar, I just want to share with you, this is what I'm going through. My heart just sinks, and that is the time I'm thinking how many hundreds of letters every day he would have got. But that there was an amazing power that he would be able to handle all of that, take it in the stride. It's like the Mother Earth, how much ever trash we throw on her, she has the capability of absorbing it, re-energizing it and giving us back good, right? It's just like we throw carbon dioxide, the Vayu pulls it and gives it back as oxygen. So everything in nature, everything that's godly has that power to absorb and transform it into something positive. So Swami actually transformed that energy of people wanting, yearning, all of that. He seemed to have that energy to transform it and give back as positive energy. I saw that in action every day in and out. Swami was that positive outlook of the radiant figure, wanting to give, wanting to share, and very simple in his own everyday life, very austere in his own everyday life. Even his towels, and I'm talking of the 80s, so if you hear Satyajit's talking of the 90s, later 90s and 2000, you'll have a different version of Swami. So even the towel that he used in the bathroom, because the bathroom didn't have windows, and there were no dryer machine, washers and dryers, so it won't dry much. So he will say, I want the thinnest towel so it will dry. So the torta mundu will, that the thin ones, which you and I perhaps won't even look for buying. It'll be that, because you can squeeze it and then put it and it will dry up. Even from that small little thing, it was simplicity at its very core. It's almost like these are not things that I'm going to pay my attention to. There are bigger things I have to do. So these small things are just... Swami paid attention to not these kind of small little things, and that's where it was cleanliness, for example, or silence, for example. It was literally pin drop silence in his presence. Even if a pin drops, he would hear it. Nobody will speak to Swami unless Swami starts a conversation. Even upstairs, Kutumrao Garu will come up, Chirinja Rao Garu will come up. These were those days they were the ashram secretaries and running the day-to-day activities of the ashram. So they will come, and later on when the university formed, vice chancellor, registrar, they will come. Professor Gokak would come. So they will come and stand. Swami will be sitting, he'll be reading a letter or something, and he'll acknowledge them, and then he will start a conversation, and then they will respond to that. If he has a question, he'll ask, Emi Samacharam, then they will tell. If it was an open-ended question like that. Otherwise, he will ask, did you do this job I asked you to do yesterday? Things like that. But what I notice, and this is important for us to understand, that the conversations are always initiated by Swami. Because the moment the person finishes answering, Swami will say, okay. And if he goes back to reading, everybody is quiet. Everybody respected that space. That Swami. Nobody would enter, disturb that space. Nobody will say, excuse me, Swami, I have a question. Unless he did. Professor Anil Kumar was one great exception. To me, he reminded me of Narada. Not the Narada we see on TV. I have the greatest regard for Narada. He's one of the Guru Parampara owes its such a great devotee as such. He had that liberty to break that silence of Swami, and Swami allowed him. So there are very few people like that we have seen who would do that. Even Professor Kasturi would not dare break the silence with what little exposure I saw with Swami and Professor Kasturi. So just think of that. Nobody speaks to you till you speak to them. Just think how your life will be. On one side, as a young boy, I felt that Swami was very lonely. Because nobody, with friends you go, they start talking to you, somebody will call you, say, how are you? You feel like it, right? Nobody asks you, how are you, what you're doing. How will you feel like that? How will you feel if only you have to start talking to everybody? Others, nobody's talking, they're just looking at you and staring at you or maintaining a safe distance from you. I'm saying this because today we have our social definitions, our networking ideas are all so different. And Swami came from a completely different plane. He seemed to enjoy that space. He was very content with who he was. He was, and this is my version, my understanding of how I saw Swami. And I say this because these are signs of divinity, right? Completely content with who you are. Content with where he was. There was no 10-year plans for developing the ashram. There was no vision board where he would go and write. None of that. Very content. I think that contentment built upon itself. These are the lessons that the avatar shows us by living. That the moment you're content, you don't stop growing because you're content. Today, contentment is seen as a negative trait, a personality trait. You have to desire, you have to have ambition, you have to grow. We teach our children, or we want our children to be ambitious, and it's good. But even better is contentment, because when we are content, we truly grow. We truly grow when we are content. I know this sounds like a dichotomy and against the very principles we have been learning. But it's something for us to ponder, because Swami's mission grew. We all saw how that little Puttaparthi transformed itself over a matter of, from 1940s, if you will, till in a matter of 60 or 70 years, from a small unknown village which was not even on the map of India, from that to being a world pilgrimage center. Now I know you and I will just go back, say, oh, he is God, he can do, and we think that's a very wise statement, but we are pushing him away. He's coming to show us that, listen, what I do, you can also do. That's why he said, if I have 4 hands, I come like Vishnu, you will put me in a museum and charge tickets for my darshan. So I come like you, with 2 hands, 2 feet. I can sing like you, walk like you, talk like you, eat like you, sleep like you, just behave like you. So that you can follow what I do, you can understand what I do, and you can also emulate, draw inspiration. Because Before Swami, what did we do? We believed in a God. We never had a chance to experience God. We believe in Him, right? But when He came, we had a chance. Even to this day, we have a chance to experience divinity. Believing is one thing, experiencing is one thing. And we begin to experience, then we understand that every avatar comes to live a life, to show us that this is how you can live. That austerity, that penance-like life, simplicity at its very core, simple living, high thinking was something Swami taught. He did that every day of his life. This is who he was. Many times his robes, his veshti or the pitambaram as we call the veshti inside will be torn. We'll say, Swami, empty. Swami, it's torn. Small tear, it's okay. And he'll wear it because it will go to the dhobi and it will come back and he'll wear it again. It is so amazing to see that. And yet, it wasn't like magic that everything grew. It was that untiring effort that he put into his mission. I saw him dedicating every moment of his waking hours into his mission. There was really no time for himself, or like we do a great seva project, or we spend a whole weekend doing some, let's say, Atirudrama Yagna, this and that, and then we come home and say, I'm so tired, let me watch something just to relax. We need an escape. We think we need that. We need that one more, a space where I can just go and relax, as if this is not relaxing. In our mind, it is like that, right? So we look for that. When was the last time we all got, hey, let's have some real fun, let's do bhajans. Maybe we do that. But if I tell the youth, let's do bhajan, they'll say, why not do something else more exciting? Because excitement is now defined and predefined and brainwashed, what is exciting, what is not exciting, and so on and so forth. My point here is, Swami had none of that. There was no private space for him. There was no time for him where he'll say, Adanta Paralita, let us simply talk of something else. There was no something else for Swami. Outside his life, his mission. To me, those are some things I had. That is why I began to admire him. How come one individual can be like this, not one day, not one weekend, not one week, but every day? It was almost like it was his very nature. His very nature was that. If Rudra's very nature is heat, then Swami's very nature was love. He was not practicing love. He was not showing us how to love. It was his very nature. So in that love, he pruned us. Like we prune the plants. There was a lot of pruning he did. By pruning, I mean he chided us, he scolded us, but it was all under the canopy of that love. At that moment, I couldn't understand that. We, of course, knew it was all out of Swami's love that, and if Swami scolds us, we will take it as a blessing. There were many times he has scolded me. And every time I took it as a blessing. Though it was a bitter pill at that time, I felt he was, in front of other boys, he's shouting at me and all of that, quote unquote humiliation. But my heart would say, at least he's talking to me. At least he's the one who's shouting, not somebody else. So let him shout. I would write also, Swami. I mean, you are shouting, so I have no complaint. Please, let you be the one to scold me, to correct me, to be angry with me, rather than somebody else. And so, that admiration was not simply because it was not becoming a fan of Sai Baba. To me, that was my true understanding of what God can be. Happened in that little room in Puttaparthi, watching him every day and every night. That simplicity, that intensity of Swami. Swami did not levitate, he did not walk through walls, he showed us none of those magical moments. But in that simplicity, there was so much mystery in that personality of Swami. Many of you, if you had heard me before, people who listen to me virtually might have heard me say this many times, but I don't get tired of saying this, and to me, it's like Ramayana or the Mahabharata. The same story I tell every time I relive those things, it energizes me, and I hope it does to you all as well. For examples, you must have heard of Dr. Jagdishan from Malaysia, Brother Jagdishan from Malaysia. He's of course very old now. But he was a very dynamic Sai devotee, doing Swami's work in Malaysia. And so he wrote a book, Journey to God, I think. Journey to God Part 1 and Part 2, correct? So Journey to God Part 1 was published during that time. I think it was 80 or 81. And the first book he had given it to Swami. So Swami had brought that book. And it was next to Swami in the evening. He had taken it upstairs after the Arati. He went upstairs, he was sitting and he was looking around. I was pressing one feet, my another boy was pressing another feet. We were just sitting with Swami, and Swami was talking, and then again those moments of silence, he looked around, he saw this book, he picked up the book, and he started, first he took the book and he just flipped through the pages like this. And then something caught his eye because there were a bunch of pictures. So he opened, like a 5-year-old. Now I'm only interested in pictures. I don't know how to read, kind of, no time. So he just goes to those pictures, and then his eyes became big. Now I'm imagining Swami, so if you see my face, it's exactly how I saw. So he was watching, then he stopped. He saw like this. Then he turned the book around. Chudandi, he said, Chudandi. He showed us like this. Chudandi. Kutumbarao garu, everybody standing. Chudandi. We saw that picture. Vibhuti is coming. Vibhuti vastundanta. They're saying Vibhuti is coming. See? Kumkum kuda vastundi. Chudu. And I, as young man, thinking, wait a minute, you're supposed to be doing this, right? Why are you surprised? This see, this is what on the one side, it's very mysterious, very beautiful. We couldn't laugh or anything like that. We were stunned. I was stunned to see Swami like a child watching his own Leela and appreciating it as if it was not him. See, the heights of selflessness is there. When you think you're the doer, when you don't think you're the doer, you begin to appreciate your own, like a 5-year-old, when they draw, they'll admire their own work. They'll come to give you with pride, right? This is what I did. It's not ego. The child doesn't even know what that ego is, but the child just loves his product, loves the colors he brought in, he or she brought in. It is the same thing with Swami. At that moment, he became like a child. Oh, Suru. Then there was honey was flowing. He was like completely, wow, look at this. What all is happening? Malaysia, Singapore, what all is going on? And then he was completely absorbed. Next 10 minutes, he was going on and on, appreciating the pictures that he saw. Confusing, at least I was completely confused. And if he's not doing it, if he's surprised, who's the one who's making this Vibhuti appear? It took many months and years for me to understand the beauty of that Leela, that God appreciates, not because he's not the doer, right? He's everything. He's the Leela himself. So the ability to appreciate your own work without the sense of ego or the doership is something only an avatar can show, I think. So there was that simple mysteriousness in his personality. Once Dr. Alreja was, Dr. Alreja was from Bombay again, and he was visiting Swami every night. He would come and spend time with Swami, and so he would tell Swami about one patient among the 3 or 4 that he had. Swami would listen about that patient, and then Swami would pick up a couple of vibhuti packets and tell him, okay, give this to him. So he will take that and put it in his right side pocket, keep it. Then then he'll tell him about the next patient. Swami will listen, he'll say, okay, he might give one or he might give more and give. So he will take it and keep it separately in another pocket. And then when he'll come down, he'll make notes. This for this patient, this for this patient, and all that. So one day, my curiosity got the better of me. I told him, Dr. Saab, and I spoke to him in Hindi because I knew he was from Bombay. So anyway, I'll paraphrase it in English. So I said, listen, he's giving you from that same basket. Why can't you just pile it up and distribute it equally to all the... We think we are wiser than Swami, right? So why can't you just distribute it equally to all the patients? What is this one patient for one packet he gave to this, 4 packets here? He said, no. And he gives 1 packet for that. That is medicine for that person. I have no job to mix it. I found that difficult to accept it, but over the years I began to appreciate that everything Swami did had an inner significance. There was never a moment where it was a mindless act or a mindless word that he uttered. Every word that he uttered was mindful. Every act of his was mindful, consciously done, knowingly he would pause, or knowingly he would say, let us, every word of his. So even jokingly, when I look back at any word he would have told me or my father or my mother about me, things like that, everything has materialized and come to fruition. One Swami made me talk on stage in Dasara, and he, just before you talk, he'll give you some hint at the backstage. So we will wait backstage. Sometimes he might, sometimes he may not. So that day he said, Cheppu, why are people going abroad? They should be working in India, something like that. He said, tell about, our nation is so important. I said, yes, Swami. I was so pumped up. Because Swami is giving me matter to talk now. It's even better than, I don't have to think of my own. Because for us, at least I can speak for myself, our nervousness is, speaking in front of a large audience, you're nervous, that is one part of the picture, but that was a smaller picture. Our main fear is, I'm speaking next to Swami, I should be careful of what I speak, because I'm representing Swami, right? Swami would always put us like that. No pressure, but know that you're representing Swami. So for us, that was even more of a bigger thing. So when Swami tells you to talk, it's even better. Then I said, okay, great. So I gave a nice discourse about India, this, that. So I finished my talk, and Swami was very happy with the talk, because after the talk, when he came at the backstage, he told me, come in. And I followed him into the green room. He sat there and he called a couple of VIPs. He was very happy about his own discourse and all. He was talking. Then he asked the couple of VIPs, how did this boy speak about India and all he spoke? They said, I said, Swami, very nicely. Then I was beaming, smiling, and Swami said, see, this fellow is speaking like that. Tomorrow he'll also go abroad only. And Chumma, these boys just talk like this. Actually, they will also go. I couldn't tell Swami, you told me to talk, Swami, what is this? You put words in my mouth. So I couldn't tell him. I was shunned. I went and fell at Swami's feet. I said, no, Swami, I'm not going anywhere. Telsu, చెప్తారు కానీ మీరందరూ వెళ్తారు. You'll all go. I know. Now, this was somewhere in the early mid-80s. I had no clue that 15 years from then or 18 years from then I will be going to the US. I had no clue. But when things fall in place, when you look back, you're like, even that joking statement, even that statement he made had to have his fruition. So that was the power of his will. And later on, of course, there was so much, there was, when my life is at stake, when the cobra bit me, he just said, it's not a cobra, it's just a poisonous thorn, and he dismissed it. But we'll keep that story for some other time. The point there is, every word of his was never uttered without, why am I saying this? So how will you and I take this home? We have Swami's discourses. And to me, those are Veda Vakyas. Really, I'm hoping as we go along, in these, as part of KYG, we want to start many courses as spreading spirituality. Of course, there's no charge for any of these courses. It's all education has to be free. But I want to take up Swami's discourse one at a time. What was the date, he said? Which year was it? What was happening during that time in India? If you see that, analyze it, and study the discourses, they're very fascinating. Because if any casual words of Swami had so much power, Swami would say Santosham, cancer cancelled, or something like that, as passing by, and many of us have stories that we can relate to or we have heard. When those have such power, imagine him giving a discourse which he knows is going to be recorded for posterity. How much more power that will be? And are we spending time at least reading one at some time as a leisure, and taking one discourse at a time and saying, let me just ponder what Swami would have said in this discourse. Why would he say that? What was happening in India around that time? Whether it was 60s or 70s or 80s. Was he speaking to the army people, or was he speaking to the Air Force people? What did he say? He was speaking to ladies. What did he say? He was speaking to young children, students. What did he say? If we take those, there is so much truth in those statements. Swami would insist, and sometimes our mind will not grasp what he's trying to say logically. let me give you an example. Once he created a lingam. We were all sitting and Swami waved his hand, created a very beautiful lingam. It was this big. Almost the size, not as big as this, almost the size as this particular lingam, which is here in the yantram. And Swami passed it on. We were very blessed to receive it. We were so considered ourselves fortunate to hold it, secretly hoping one of us might get it, because nobody got the lingam. Swami is again very, very particular whom he gives these things. So anyway, Swami passed on. Swami said, "Chudu, chala heavy ga undi kada? Chala, it's very heavy." And we all said, "Yes, Swami." It was pretty heavy. And then Swami said, "You know how heavy it is?" Somebody said, 1 kg. Hey, 1 kg, yeah. 2 tons. Now, wait a minute. So first, as young boys, we just thought like the slip of the tongue. Swami is slip of the tongue. 2 tons. Swami, 2 tons ante 2,000 kgs. Oh no. Yes, 2,000 kgs. Now, the boys are holding it in the hands. So logically, you just can't tell him, wait a minute, Swami, it doesn't work like that. It has to be 2 kgs or 5 kgs. It can't be 2 tons. But Swami, knowing that it is 2,000 kgs, insisted that it was 2,000 kgs, meaning he perhaps wanted us to understand what is the way the way Swami saw things was very different from the way you and I see it. The way his words came out were from that source of wisdom which we can only barely, touch upon, right? He's the very source. So from that it would come. And like that, there are so many. For example, Swami would come out there was a doctor's conference or something like that, and so all these doctors are sitting. Swami said, "My weight is perfect, 54 kgs, 108 pounds. Correct. So we know 54 kgs is not 108 pounds. We know 108 pounds cannot be 54 kgs. But Swami would insist it was that. Now, who will tell Swami that, wait a minute, Swami, it doesn't work like that? I think those are the times we need to question our idea of logic and conditioned mindset, which has to be that 2 plus 2 is 4, or 1 plus 1 has to be 2. There is a missing dollar riddle, right? Even math, it depends on perspective, how you look at it. It can change the answer. Missing dollar riddle is where the professors go to a place and they are hungry. The conference is the next day, so they order a pizza, and the pizza guy brings the pizza. Let me hope I get it right. So each of them gives $10 to this pizza delivery boy. And he says, "Oh, the pizza is just here is the money back. It's $5. He gives it back," or something like that. Anyway, the point here, I won't get into that now. The point here is, if you just Google missing dollar riddle, you'll see that. Even math has a way to approach. They'll say, no, if you approach this way, then there is a dollar that's missing. Because what has happened is, he gives, the pizza is $27, so he gives each of them $1 back. So we say the pizza was $25, so he has $5 back. So he says, "I will keep the $2 with me and give $1 to each of these professors back." So he comes back from the pizza shop, he says, "Here, $1. So the way you look at the riddle is, you have each professor gave $10, they got back $9. They got back $1, so $9. 9 into 3 is 27. And so where is the missing dollar? $1 is missing. Even math can end up in riddles like this, where you say, no, there is an approach. You have to approach it correctly. Only then you can get it correctly. Math should be, anyway, something when you say is objective, whichever way you approach it, it should be like that, right? So that's why in quantum, in all of this today, the approach itself cannot, there's no such thing as objective approach. There has to be a subjective approach. And it's all on the observer, the way you approach it, you determine reality for yourself. It was like that. And to us, he wanted us to, I know this beyond any doubt today, he wanted us to break that, what is black, what is white. When you're with me, empty your cup. Are you ready to empty your cup? If I tell you this, why don't you believe me rather than your logical mind, which is this can't be 2000 kgs? It was a test of faith. at that moment. You playfully just roll the dice and see if we pass the test. That's the beauty of that. We cannot approach divinity through logic. We have to approach it through the heart. That's why I started this, because that is our only way where the logical mind has to cease thinking. And that's why even philosophy does not get us to Swami. It perhaps gives us a starting point, a platform to begin with, whether it's Advaita or Shaivism or Bhakti Marga or whatever it is that we want to have a philosophy. Or just stop thinking, period. That's all. That is where the logical mind has to stop. That is why even Arjuna could not, after a point Bhagavad Gita, the question and answer session stops, right? The Vishwarupa comes. The vision is what gives him a much better perspective of who Krishna is. Otherwise, there's no way he could have understood who Krishna was. So we are so lucky that in our day and age, we have this divine Guru who has taught us so much. My only earnest plea, I remind myself and I plead people, don't reduce him to a miracle man. It is not, Swami is not defined only by miracles. He is far, far, far greater. It's like saying Krishna was just a miracle man. Or Rama, what is that? He lost his wife, but he was God, he got it back. No, he truly suffered. And he went and fought the demon on his own. It's a historical account. It's not a symbolic account, correct? And it is the same way Swami truly lived his life every day in and out, in that austere, in every sense of austerity, simplicity, and divinity. For him, a manifestation, if we call it a miracle, was just a law expressing itself at the right time, at the right place. He just allowed it to happen through him. It was like that. There is no other way I can explain it. It was not just to prove that, hey, listen, what I can do something better than you. Because if you would do that, then you and I will go home thinking, oh, poor me, he's great, who am I am nobody. And then we'll go back to our little self-pitiable self and we'll get into the self-pity zone. But the whole idea of Vedanta is to break us free from that, right? I am not this. I am the divine being. And therefore, his expressions of miracles were simply expressions of love, nothing else. That Navagraha ring on the Devi's Freedom that you see, Swami gave me first a diamond ring on the stage. And at that time, it was 1990, so I had already spent about 11 years with Swami. I had no desire for a ring or anything like that. I was completely content with Swami. He had given us so much. I was just enjoying every moment with Swami. But there was this one little thief sitting there. If Swami gives a ring, if that happens, then I hope it's a nine stone ring. That was one. I know that because right from my childhood, I always was fascinated by 9 gem, 9 stone, and I've later on got into astrology and all of that. So, 9, my birthday is also 9. Whatever it is, I used to get very fascinated by that. So I thought, if Swami gives some point, if at all, not that I want it, but if it happens, I hope it's a 9 stone ring. That's how it was. The sports meet came and Swami called me on stage that 1990, praised me, and then he materialized a beautiful ring. That moment, none of these thoughts were there. This is just a background I'm giving you. And I was there, I was completely overwhelmed. Swami is giving me something, and he put this in my ring finger, and it was a large diamond ring, very beautiful ring. He put it, and I was so happy. I looked at Swami. Swami looked at me and he said, "Not happy?" Immediately, that was the first word Swami uttered. I know by then, every word Swami utters, we are very particular. We don't want Swami to say something because we know that there is something amiss with Swami, right? So he put it, "Not happy?" Swami, very happy. Very, quickly, it was a very quick, "No, Swami, very happy. Stand." And I put like this, he put my hand down, I took pictures and all. And I came back, the program was over and all, but in the back of my mind, I was going, why would Swami say that, not happy? I mean, this is great. I mean, this is amazing what Swami had done. So evening he came out for darshan. In the afternoon he came out 1:30, 2 o'clock. He comes out of the, by the side of the silver door, there's a veranda. He would come out. Our boys were gathered down. So there were Brindavan boys, Puttaparthi boys. Those days he'll come out in the afternoon. So the boys will hang out just to get that 10, 20 boys will hang out downstairs in case Swami comes out. So I was also there. And Swami came out and he said, "Hey, Ayyar, you showed your ring to everybody?" "Yes, Swami," I said, just laughing sheepishly. And he said, told the boys, "You also? It's a big diamond ring I gave him. He's not happy." Then I said, "No, Swami, Leda Swami, Chala Santosham, Swami." No, Musko. Your father's birthday is coming. When is it? This was on January 14th. On Shankranti Day he gave me. So, when is your father's birthday? Swami, day after tomorrow. On 16th is my father's birthday. Was, rather. Apr chustane. I'll talk to you then. So, I said, okay, at least he'll now explain to me what is this bothering him that I am not happy. I'm very, very happy. And then Swami called on that day. And I'm talking this in the context of his miracles, right? The miracle is an expression of love. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. We should not read anything more than that. That's why we don't reduce him to a miracle man. We rather understand him as an embodiment of love. And all of the rest is only expressions of that love. So he calls my parents and me, and he calls another American family, I forget his name, drawing a blank. Anyway. Okay, so that family and us, we were here. And so Swami told him, this American gentleman, this boy did all this gymnastic feats, sports meet, did very good. See, I gave him a ring, he held my hand like this. See, I gave him a nice ring. He's not happy. I said, "No, Swami, very happy, Swami, very happy." I was still not understanding. And the devotees, "Oh, Swami, he should be very happy." No. So, young boy, something, Swami started making fun of. And I was like, no, Swami, I'm very happy, very happy. Show me a hand. Yes. I showed him my hand. He took away the ring. Aim Samachar, we started talking. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? The ring went. For no reason, you gave me the ring, you took it. And for that moment, initially, I was very surprised why Swami took the ring. And then, a few minutes later, Swami waved his hand and created a beautiful Navaratna ring. He showed it. And he showed it. Like, I was sitting under Swami's feet, right? Swami showed it to that American gentleman, showed it to everybody. Just about 7, 8 people were there. And then he showed it to me. I was like, oh my gosh. Suddenly a bulb went in my head. Wow, that click happens, correct? Love at first sight kind of a thing. Oh my gosh, soulmate. The ring. He showed it, and then to my shock, he called Sinclair. That was the name of the ring. Called Sinclair. Put it on his finger. Perfect fit. See? And then he showed it again to everyone. See? Very good fit. Everything Swami gives, perfect fit. I was, so imagine me thinking that ring was for me because he took my ring. I don't remember whether he blew on it or he did something, but he materialized now into a Navaratna. That should come to me, right? Logic. But instead of me, it goes to Sinclair. So I immediately, my mind went into a depression. What is this, Swami? That ring was for me, it just went there. And then Swami started talking. In the next 15-20 minutes, I think for me, it seemed like for a whole lifespan. At that moment, I was sitting under Swami's feet thinking, what just happened? Because I had stayed so long with Swami. And then luckily that maturity kicked in. And then I began to ask myself how foolish I am to be thinking of this ring versus that ring and desiring anything. He gave, he can take it. He gives it, he can take it. It belonged to him in the very first place. It was not my ring. So let him do what he... So at that moment, I didn't hear what he was talking, 15 minutes. My mind was in this internal, literally an introspective mode. I was looking at him and I made complete peace with that situation. From my heart, I said, Swami, I want the giver, not the gift. I have you. Why do I care? You can give me anything, any amount of rings you want at any moment. Why do I even care for it? Swami, I made complete peace with the situation. I had no desire now anymore. My mind was at peace. At that moment, suddenly he waved. He made another 9-stone ring. This time my mind was completely calm. He showed my hand, took my hand and put it. He said, childhood desire. He told my parents, childhood desire. The timing of that, the lesson was very profound. The timing was wonderful. But the gift was even more precious because that was a representation of him not simply giving you a gift, but giving you a gift so that he can take away that little desire that is there in the background. Okay, this is what is bothering you, all right, take it. It was an expression of love. It was always an expression of love. When I jumped through the 3 rings of fire, I landed up with the rings around, fire around me. He was the one who came and pulled me out. Not the sevadals who had done selfless seva. At that moment when the call comes to act, the one who had the foresight to see the problems going to happen, who took precautions, who started running towards me as I'm running towards the flame, and when I jumped, he was the one who picked me out. And others came in later, but he was the one who first picked me up and started. From that moment, I began to understand that this is not somebody practicing love or showcasing love. He was truly that. He lived it. It wasn't different. It was literally love on 2 feet. And that love doesn't end, right? There is no beginning to end. There's anadi. There's no birth to that love. There's no death to that love. And therefore it is that Swami is... he was born in flesh, and on this day he was born in spirit. Swami never passed away to me. He was just born. He took another birth on Easter. To me, Easter is powerful because all our in Sanatana Dharma and in our Agamas and Shastras, if you see all of these festivals, all the spiritual practices are all lunar calendar based. Because they are about the mind and about sanctifying the mind, about rising above the mind and so on. Right? Whether it is Diwali, it is Amavasya, it is right from Navaratri to everything is, that's why we look at a lunar calendar. We have a whole Panchangam. We can't go by Western calendars because that does not give us the right dates. We have to go by another calendar by itself. Imagine Swami chose that most beautiful day as a lunar event rather than us remembering it on a Western calendar. And that was Easter. Easter is the only... among other festivals in the Hindu, outside our Hinduism, if you will, there are very few. I think Eid and they come also under the rule. Lunar, most important universal festivals are lunar based, which includes Easter, Good Friday and Easter. So Easter comes as a lunar event, and Swami chose that day so that we'll always remember it as a tithi, right? And so to me, that Easter, and such a profound, most beautiful thing, when Jesus Christ transcended his body, he says, give me 3 days and I'll rebuild this temple, right? So Jesus had to get crucified for Christ to be born. So that form, from the form to the formless. And Swami had to transcend that day, chose the same day for bringing Christianity and all religions together. That's the beauty of every act of Swami has divinity embedded in it, including his final act of leaving his physical body. He chose Easter morning, 7 o'clock, when he passed away. So yes, of course, we will all, as part of this generation who have seen him, who have been with him, whether he had one darshan from far off or whether you saw him close, it doesn't matter. That's the fact that we saw him physically and knowing that we'll never get it again is very heartbreaking. And there's a vacuum in our lives which will never ever get filled by any other guru or anybody else. That's a vacuum we'll take with us. But how fortunate we are and we were, right, to be in this generation, to say we were there when Swami walked, we were there when Swami spoke, we were there, we heard about him, we went and saw him. Many of us performed in front of him, many of us were there singing in front of him, or just sat watching him. That is going to bless not only us, but many, many, many generations in our families to come. There is no doubt about it. Swami said, once I sow a seed, every seed will ripe. If it doesn't ripe through you, it will ripe through your great-grandchild. Don't worry. Okasari patkonte nenu vadalanu, he said. Once I hold you all, there are 4 of us, we were research students, and we were just, Swami was sharing, there was sometimes there were many intimate, beautiful moments where there will be 4, 5 of us and Swami will share some thoughts. And then he said, I will never let go of you, even if you even if you let go, I will not. And I was sitting under him, so he held my hair tightly, because I'm giving a tough time now. But he held my hair and he shook my head. I will never let you go. I will never let you go. It was the avatar saying that when I come and I do something, it is for generations and generations to will benefit. So it is an opportunity that we have to take full advantage of Swami's teachings and the life that he has shown us, how he lived, how can we emulate those principles, how can we bravely step into those footsteps that he has walked, not to copy him externally, but to get inspired by his life, not to put him away in an altar and say he is avatar, he is God, and push him further, rather say he lived like us, and if he does something, why can't I try something like what he did? Because Swami would tell us, and this is there in the discourse also, right? He would say, don't walk ahead of me, I am not your follower. Don't walk behind me. Walk beside me, next to me. In other words, emulate, draw the inspiration that Swami drew. Think of this, a young boy, 14 years old, in village of Puttaparthi, with no education rather, well, technically 8th grade, but in Puttaparthi those days, 1940s, 8th grade education, what could it have been? I wouldn't think much of it, correct? And you drop out of school, and then you have a vision. So 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, we all had that age group. We all had some dreams. But this one boy kept to that dream. He stuck to it. Why? Because his parents batted his back and said, yes, we are with you, child. We are so proud of you. Did they do that? We know it is recorded in history that they didn't. Right? They all thought, they and the entire village thought he was possessed. How can a normal boy, instead of being like everybody else, how come he's suddenly talking of Manasa Bhajare, Guru Charanam? What is this? Something is wrong with him. So they physically abused him. So talk about, I always joke and say there was no 911 for Swami to call for help. Just think about that. When we take our right foot forward, when we put all our effort and do something and somebody discourages us, we just blame them, going back into our shell. And where we are, we blame others. We blame the government, we blame the market, we blame family, we blame something or the other for where we are now, right? Swami had every reason to blame others and go back to being a normal villager. I wanted to do, but see, my village, everybody thought I was. So the young boy is taken to exorcist, is put through that physical torture, and there was a hearing loss, impairment, if you will, not loss. His hearing on one side was impaired because of that for the rest of his life. None of that seemed to have discouraged the young boy. Rather, it motivated him. So when we face difficulties in our lives, do we get motivated or do we get dejected? Whom did he run to? Which God did he run to? He didn't have anyone to run to, correct? Himself. So the point is, so what is he teaching us from there? Go within, and everything outside, Swami will say, is a reflection, reaction, and a resound of what is going on inside. So everything that happens in our lives, whether it is good or bad, good and bad again, how we interpret things. If we get a lottery, we might think it is good. Is it really good? We don't know. Similarly, if we slip and break our foot, like mother, unfortunately, you would say something bad. Is it bad or is it good? We don't know. We interpret events based on our expectations. We say which is good, which is bad, right? But everything is, what is unquestionably true is every event in our life is a reflection and a reaction of what is going on inside. It is an outward expression of the inner conflict. If there is war today happening in the Middle East or anywhere, there was never a time there was no war, but nevertheless, if there's war, that is a reflection of the human consciousness in general. Why? And some of us are yearning for peace, part-time, because there was other times, what do? You and I, we love watching action movies, don't we? When was the last time you and I watched a 1940 movie where there is black and white and there is the scenes are so long and drawn? We don't watch it anymore because it's boring. We like stories where there are plots, subplots. Even in Mahabharata and Ramayana stories in the TVs that they put so much masala in it. Everybody is crying or everybody is angry with each other, that those energies of hatred and emotional, all that brain is replaying it. So imagine collective consciousness, every individual looking for excitement and action in some form. How will that reflect? In peace and contentment? It's just impossible for that to happen. So it is bound to be that somewhere, some election happens, somewhere some wrong leader gets chosen or something happens somewhere and the spark said, but the butterfly has to shake his wing on one side and there's an earthquake on the other side. That's how connected we are, correct? Whether it's in the world of electrons, subatomic world, it's the same thing. So every thought of ours, everything that we entertain has and finds its expression somewhere. Not only, it's not my thoughts and my life, it is ours collectively, which is why Swami encouraged service. He pushed us into group sadhana because he came to awaken mankind as a whole, not just one individual. It was not about one technique that he had to teach you or one breathing technique or one yoga technique or one meditation technique. He didn't come for those things. He said those things you can follow like, small little things, but awaken, the whole mankind has to be awakened. So it is group sadhana, sing together, serve together. Kalasi melasi perugutama, kalasi melasi tirugudam. Kalasi melasi means unite, get together, serve together. Because in that, consciousness becomes more powerful. When we do things in a group, it's not just about doing a Rudram chanting in a group. It's about feeling that idea that we are all connected, that one's action does affect the other. And that unity, that consciousness, Swami wanted us to imbibe as students. 1965, I wrote this drama with Swami. I say with Swami because it was literally a blank paper. I went and Swami said, I want you to write a nice drama. Write and show me something. So I wrote some blueprint and went to Swami. Swami said, and Swami then took that, he said, chala bagundi, kani, flung that aside. Okay, good, very good. This is what I want. So it was about unity. Unity is purity, purity is unity, purity, divinity. That was the name of the drama. And he said, I want more than 100 boys on the stage. So 65th birthday of Swami was the Shanti Vedika was then the latest in Puttaparthi. So that was, that big stage. So lot more boys had to act in the drama. And I was scratching my head, how 100? So 100 mandi pillalu pettocha stage low. I said, yes, Swami, we think we can. Then keep, at least 100 boys should be on the stage. What kind of drama can you do with 100 boys? So Swami, of course, helped me write the drama. He said, different people will come. Then in the end, Andaru Kalasi, they have to, all religions, all people of all faith come together. So we created a kind of a famine situation when everybody comes together and then it rains and all of that. There's so many beautiful moments with Swami during that drama. But I'll come to the hilarious ones few minutes later because my mind is there. But the most important thing there was the theme. The theme of unity was so dear to Swami. You won't believe how much he emphasized on that. How much he said the little you, me, I, me, he and she, looking at this is not me, he did it, she did it, and this and that kind of talk. He was so far beyond all that. When he talked of unity, because he said divinity is understanding that the one divine has become everything. So how can we crave to be spiritual when we find there's another person is not, how can I not like somebody else or hate somebody else and not understand divinity, correct? So that the unity was such a very, very, very dear thing to Swami. That is what put me on this path of Kaivalya or oneness. That exposure, that 2 months of writing really opened my idea to how important this is to Swami. And then I began to understand this is who he was, because for him, anything other than oneness was a blasphemy. He couldn't get it. He couldn't understand. Why? Because it was his experience for that. He saw himself with everybody. So how can one of his self hate the other? It was like that. I find it very difficult to put these in words because sitting with Swami, the beauty of it was he would elevate your consciousness, right? You will feel elated. Not because you got some chance with Swami, but it was just that presence. And then when you would share the knowledge, it would be so simple and yet so clear. At that moment you will get it. Getting a window of it, and then slowly it will sink and transform. So that drama was really wonderful. The hilarious moments were, again, when we talk of Swami being that 5-year-old, we had to, in the end of the drama, everybody is on the stage and they sing together and it rains. So to create the rain effect in Shanti Vedika, we had 5 or 6 boys who would go up and sit in a line. And then they'll have this, gardening cans, like a shower thing, and pour. So there'll be a curtain of rain in the front. So Swami came for one rehearsal and he was so thrilled by this idea. Somewhere they're creating rains. He was so thrilled. I don't think he expected that. So he was very thrilled. Now the best part is on the final day, when we were doing this, the president of India was next to Swami. And the last scene came. So we were all excited to show Swami this, right? But Swami is so much more excited that the president should see it. He told, for the last scene, both of us will shift from the front to the backstage. So he actually came and sat inside. And when the scene is going, he tells the president, watch out, look up, the rain is going to come from there. And we are like, no, Swami, this is supposed to be like an effect. You don't explain that. But this is the beauty. For him, it was so thrilled. He told the president, look up, that's where these boys are raining. It's not real rain. Look at the boys, they're doing all this. We didn't know whether to laugh or how, but the simplicity of Swami, the innocence of Swami, the way he perceived things was so simple and straightforward. There was no complications. There was no complications in the way he looked at things. I still remember a drama, this is way back, 1985 I think it was, yeah. When we did a Radha Krishna drama, Swami's 60th birthday. Swami chose a boy who sings with a very masculine voice, very good singer. Swami said, you sing, you be Radha. So during rehearsal, he changed his voice to sound like a girl. Because the boy is going to be dressed in girl's clothes. So his voice has to kind of match, right? Which is what, like I told you, 2 plus 2 has to be 4, correct? Our logical brain will work like that. This is the kind of movies we saw. So when he did that, Swami came to the rehearsal, he saw this boy singing, he called him, and he said, your throat, something is wrong with your throat, hey, guntul bagleda. No, Swami, I'm okay. Why your sounding like this? Swami, it's like a girl, I had to sing because I'm acting like a girl. Who told you all this idea? And I was the one who gave him this idea. He looked at me and I ran behind the stage. The point was, that his original voice finds his expression. Because he grilled the boy, even though he was very well trained in music, he grilled him for a simple song that Swami wrote. Swami said, he brought his old notebook, he said, I wrote this drama, I had sung it, and he taught that boy the music was very, very simple. But then he had to sing it in his voice. And Swami was perhaps the only one who didn't find that scene awkward, or those scenes awkward where a boy dressed up as a girl is speaking and singing in a pakka male voice. This is how he worked. This is how he looked at things. He looked at it very simply, clearly. Similarly, in the drama, in that same birthday, we did an English drama. It's called Here and There, where I was one of the villains in the drama, and we had a bar scene. I pretended to drink and smoke. I didn't realize Swami was very sensitive to that. We didn't. None of us at that point knew how sensitive Swami was. Swami was calling it the rowdy scene. The first time we saw it, Swami was very upset. Now, you might think upset means like an adult behaving upset. No. Like a 5-year-old who dreads the idea of that horror film. Like, oh, no, I don't want to see that scene. I don't want to see. Like that it was. So Swami will be watching. He had a handkerchief. He picked it up and he was like this, squeezing the handkerchief. His face was becoming contorted. He couldn't bear to see us doing something like drinking or smoking, and there was a Sai student. We are trying to tell him, what is the use of values, man, enjoy life, something like weird thing. I would dare not even do that in front of Swami or even think about it. But that time, a few of us, we had just got into PhD, so Swami had given a chance to do this drama. Anyway, Swami was very upset, so he walked away from that rowdy scene, which was scene number 3 out of 8 scenes. So he walked away for first day from the rehearsal. So then the registrar was shocked. We all were shocked. Swami just got up and walked away, very disturbed. So we all said, Swami, sorry, very sorry. We wrote letters and we told registrar, we'll cancel it, scrap the scene, we'll rewrite the whole drama. Because initially I had written the drama, then we had sat with the Vice Chancellor, Professor Gokak had okayed it, and all of that went through that initial screening process, and Swami came and this happened. So even the elders couldn't directly blame us because they are the ones who said it's okay. So they were also shocked. Nobody expected Swami to react so explicitly about this scene. Because anybody adult, like if you would think an adult reaction would be, hey, see, later on call and say this kind of scene I don't like. No? With Swami it was not like that. Like a child, he just got very upset, he just walked away. As if he couldn't handle this. Then the next day he said, no, paraledu, let it go on, let us see. Next day he got 2 more VIPs and he said, where is rowdy scene? Again we'll play the rowdy scene. Again he'll get upset. Again the very same faces he'll make. Again he'll get upset. Again he'll walk away. We didn't know what to do. Swami, should we cancel the drama? No, let it be. He comes the 3rd day, 4th day. Every time he'll ask for the rowdy scene. Every time during rowdy scene. And then slowly I think it is like the child who wants to watch the horror film and the scene comes, he wants to cover his eyes. No, I don't want to watch it anymore. Okay, I want to watch it again. No, I don't want to watch it again. It's like that. This was how divine divinity is in its simplicity. It doesn't understand acting versus reality. Just like our brain doesn't now, the mirror neurons, and they call it the brain. Brain does not understand whether you're watching a movie or whether you're undergoing that experience. It is, as far as the brain is concerned, you are undergoing it. Whether the Shiva is killing the Rakshasa or not killing is what is registering in the brain. Whether you're watching it through a science fiction or whether you're watching it through Mahabharata or Ramayana, if you're watching killing is what gets registered in the brain. Violence is what gets registered in the brain, right? That is what, and this is human consciousness representing in the form of an avatar. Imagine. That's why he was so sensitive. Again, he was not trying to teach us anything in that sense. It was his very personality. That expressions were beautiful and powerful. So somehow Swami tolerated. In fact, 3rd or 4th rehearsal, he went to the boy who was acting as a Sai student. In that scene, the Sai student keeps quiet and he stops practicing values, and later on in the scene he comes back and all the boys, all the other devotees, all the other rowdies become, fall back into the right path. So it is a happy ending to the story. But like I said, we like plots, subplots. Swami doesn't like these kind of plots. That's why after that you will find only Rama, Sita, Bhajagovindam, this kind of dramas. Boys never dare put any other drama like this. But anyway, that scene, he finished that one, after 3rd or 4th time, I think he managed to survive seeing the scene. And then he gets up and walks up to the stage and tells his boy, why didn't you tell these boys, these rowdies, why are you keeping quiet? Tell them something. This boy was he was a form boy, if you will. So he was Swami's boy. So he says, Swami, the drama, dialogue. What dialogue? Tell them what have you learned with Swami. Why are you keeping quiet? Swami was actually telling him to, at that moment, Swami forgot it was a drama. And this was the Swami we lived. This is why I find this such a beautiful personality. It was not, words cannot even define who Swami was. To me, that's why I don't even label him as God or avatar or anything. He was my teacher that I can relate to him. Other than that, he's just an unfathomable being. He was like that in every sense of the term. So somehow the drama we did that drama for the birthday. Swami gave us silver plates, this, that, blessed us all, very happy. All that was over. But the 3 or 4 of us who did that rowdy scene, Swami stopped talking. Not angry or nothing, just ignored. And then we got into PhD program. All that Swami handpicked us, all was there. All the rowdies got into the PhD program. So we were all there. And then the 4 of us, commerce boys, 2 of us in that were rowdies, the rowdy scene. So Swami took us to Chennai, came to Chennai it was somewhere in the mid-80s. So Swami came because Swami heard that we boys, the commerce boys, have to go to banks to do research. Swami didn't like that idea. Why other boys are all doing in Puttaparthi? Why do these boys have to go out of Puttaparthi? See, he was, on the other side, he was very protective. They want to even know how to cross the road. How will they go there? They've been living in the ashram all their life. It was true in one sense, You just look down and walk in Puttaparthi, nobody hits you. Here you dare not do that, right? So Swami said, okay, I will take them. So we came, we stayed in Sundaram with Swami for those 4 or 5 days. We would go to RBI, Reserve Bank of India, and come back and report to Swami. Because we also went in white and white only to the RBI. We kind of merged with all the doormen, all of them had white and white there. We kind of merged with them. Those professors didn't like us coming in white and white. Anyway, this is a fun part of it. But Then in that evening in Sundaram, Swami decides to break the ice. So Swami introduced us. Until then, Swami has not spoken to us. It was quite a few months. Swami introduced us to the VIPs. He introduced Dr. Shiv Pandit, he introduced Hirok and another two boys. And then he came to two of us. He said, these two boys, pedda rowdies, big rowdy, smoking. Like this. And you know, I don't know about other devotees, Chennai devotees, you Swami. Those VIPs did that to Swami. See? Swami was immediately, இப்படியெல்லாம் பண்றாரா Swami? ஐயோ பண்ணக்கூடாது. இதான் rowdies. And Swami had taken us through Anantapur College that morning. So we stopped in Anantapur sports meet. Now somewhere we are boys look down in the ashram and walk. Now suddenly you are exposed to girls doing sports. Now we are sitting with Swami, and Swami is doing like, I'm watching y'all. Like, no, we don't want him to come here to put up to Anantapur. So we watched the sports meet very politely, and then we had lunch there. So they served lunch, Anantapur ladies served lunch. Swami telling them, feed them well. So now people are just pouring. Now what can you tell them? No, you can't tell them don't. That means talking to women. You know how? Because we were raised, I know somebody who's not used to this might feel, what is this, weird? But this is a part of a lifestyle which is very traditional. Swami is very traditional in his approach. Anyway, so one of us, this boy next to me did like this. Enough he did. Just looking down only because he just couldn't eat. And Swami said, don't waste food. And he's telling the feed well. He's having a good time. And our leaf or plate is loaded with food. How to eat so much food? And we have to sit in the car and go again with Swami following him. So one boy said like this. So when in the evening, Swami didn't say anything like that. In the evening when he introduced, he pointed to this boy, today in Anantapur, he's doing like this to girls. He said, no, Swami, I just did like this. In front of me like this, behind me like this. So Swami was, oh my God, he didn't let go of us. He pulled our legs so much. We literally fell down at Swami. See, Swami, very sorry, Swami, we will. Swami said, that drama, why did you all do that in the drama? You should not do that. How can there be smoke without, fire without smoke or smoke without fire? He went on, he said, even those small vasanas, you're entertaining your mind. You can't even imagine how much, even if you think on those lines and act on those lines, how harmful it is. The point here is when you entertain in your mind, what you entertain in your mind, how sensitive he is to what we entertain in our mind. That drama showed us that. Until then, I never knew it was so important. We say our passing thoughts, some thoughts come and go, right? We entertain those thoughts. We think it's no big deal. Nobody knows outside of us. But somewhere inside, it does register and finds its manifestation. So today, that's why I'm saying, we say the world is, we look at somebody else, the world is all violent and on. Who caused it? You and I caused it. So we all share that responsibility. That is why the avatar, when the good and evil both reach a climax, a manifestation happens. From the depths of our consciousness, a being comes forth, shows a way out. But what do? We put him up there in an altar next to the other 33 Muppatti Mukkot Devargan. We add one more and wait for the next one to come. Now people ask, where is Premasai? When is he coming? What is he going to do? Wait a minute. Don't we have our hands full with Sathya Sai himself? I mean, he's given us everything that we ever want, right? The avatar's role is at every moment, at every level of his exposure, whether it was he exposed himself to 5 people or 50 people or 5,000 people, he was uncompromising in who he was. He never compromised who he was. And to me, that was the greatest quality that I take home. Don't compromise who you are to please somebody else. It doesn't work at all. George Bernard Shaw said, right? At 20, you don't care what other people think. At 40, you're always worried about what other people think. At 80, you realize other people are not thinking about you at all. Nobody really has time for you. So we spend time trying to please others. We make our altars. What will others think? So my altar should be what others like. The color in my room should be what others like. We go to Amazon to see what others like, and therefore I must like it. We go to reviews of movies to watch what others like, maybe then it should be good, we watch. My point is that we are so influenced by what others think of us and how we can fit into the society, that somewhere in this earnestness of trying to fit in with people, trying to get somehow popular or do something, whatever it is, the question we need to ask ourselves, are we compromised on who we are? Have I really found time to ask myself, what is my mission in life? What is it that I truly want? How do I see Swami? What do I want to do with this knowledge of Swami? What do I want to do in my life? Do I have the courage to follow that? And where else do I look other than Swami, who had that courage? This is what I want to do. As a young boy from a village, he wanted to solve the world's problem. Isn't that most amazing? I mean, how fascinating it is for a young boy in village where people only think of what is in the next meal on the table, somebody to say, I want to spend human values. Manasa bhajare guru charanam dustara bhava sagaratana. I want to take people beyond this ocean of this delusion, this idea of I, me and mine, and constantly we are running a rat race not knowing where. Everybody has to have education, so we force ourselves to get education. Everybody gets a degree, I have to get a degree. Everybody gets married, I have to get married. Everybody has children, I have to have children. Everybody buys a house, I have to buy a house. Everybody buys a car, I have to buy a car. We are trying to do what everybody else does, but nobody knows where this is going. It's just going around in circles, right? I'm not trying to be philosophical, but I'm just asking a genuine question. Aren't we all going around in circles? But then we have this beautiful Guru who shows us the way out. To go within, find your divinity, and let that divinity express itself. What that expression is, let it happen. We snuff it. Because we think that might take us away from our little toys that we have built for ourselves. It won't. It truly won't. It actually embraces not only all that I love, but helps me love even more. God is not a sadist. Just because you go towards God, it doesn't mean take you away from your family and all the sad stories we hear about the saints and sages. We think that will all happen to us. No, it's not. When we reach that level, we won't even feel the pain that we are feeling that they went through pain. They didn't. Tukaram, for example, in his love for Vithala, he was lost so much in the consciousness, he didn't realize that they were poor, they didn't have money to eat. For him, he had the greater riches of God, correct? Rest of it didn't matter to him. Shirdi Baba was so lost in that divine consciousness that living in a masjid, in a broken down place, in shackles, didn't bother to him. He was the richest still. Swami would say that, right? The richest man is the one with least desires. So, once we reach that level, nothing else will matter. But let us not be afraid that Swami will somehow take us all this away. But because of that fear, what happens is we stop growing spiritually. And then we continue building this distance between us and God. And so God is somewhere. Swami irkar, and we point it up. That itself is the biggest flaw. He came, he wanted to, Swami irkar, we had to go within. Like Swami is there within me. That is so empowering. How do I awaken him? For me, where are you, Swami? How do you speak to me, guide me, awaken? And once that Guru awakens within, it's so beautiful. Every moment, he guides us. Every moment of every decision in life, he guides. He never lets go of us. It's not only our experience between Maya and I as a couple, but individually for me as well. I can vouchsafe this in so many, many ways. Once you have the Sadguru, once you allow him to guide your life, then he never lets go. He will not. That is not what a Guru is about. And therefore, on such a beautiful day as Easter, when Swami transcended, and he's come back to living in our hearts. From our hearts, from a depth of our consciousness, he manifested externally. Now he's come even closer. He's come back to his original omnipresent self. So where is he now? Everywhere, right? Everywhere. In your heart, in my heart, everywhere. We need to celebrate that. We need to reawaken to that consciousness and say thank you. Thank you, Swami. Thank you for being in our lives. Thank you for guiding us every moment. And let us continue making our lives worthy of being called your devotee. Because he has to call us. Correct? Swami would say, I have to call you a devotee. You can label yourself whatever you want. Let us make ourselves worthy of being his devotees. Let us make ourselves worthy of having lived and known Sathya Sai Baba. So the future generations are going to look at those who lived with him. What did they do? That is what history is going to record, right? We look at the Pandavas who lived with Krishna and their lives inspire us. We look at the Vanaras who served Hanuman, who served Rama, and they inspire us. How can we be those Gopikas, Vanaras, devotees? What is the story we leave behind for our children, grandchildren, for the next generation? What is the legacy we leave behind as individuals, as groups? What is the story they're going to say? So, while we have been given the greatest of gifts of having been exposed to this beautiful teacher who walked this earth, I think a great responsibility lies on our shoulders to what is the legacy, therefore, I can leave for my family. We don't have to, each of us think of world at large. We don't have to if that seems too much. But at least what is the legacy I can leave for my children, my grandchildren? What is the story they are going to say? My grandfather lived with God. He saw God. He walked. Just like imagine if we met somebody who would say my great-grandsire or great-grandfather was with Shirdi Baba. We would call him home, wash his feet and say, please tell us stories. Such will be the future generations. In our way, in whatever way we can serve Swami, let us, because that's an opportunity for us. I'm preaching the choir, but then it's more of a reminder for myself and for all of us. I think this kind of satsangs, though we have only one speaker, I think I'm just echoing what we all feel in our hearts, right? It's an opportunity to serve Swami. It's a golden opportunity to be in his service, to be part of it in whatever way possible, so that when we breathe our last, we go with a conscience free, knowing that I have done my best, Swami. Let me come again and again and again. The joy of service will never end. So with that prayer that Swami awakens within us, today is Easter, the day of awakening. May Swami awaken within us and guide every thought and every word of ours. Let him speak through us. Let him walk and guide our steps. Let him bless through our hands. Let him help us serve in whatever capacity that he deems us fit. And in that, we find our lives sanctified. I'll bring this satsang, this part of the satsang to an end. For those of you who are watching virtually, this is where we'll end our online this thing, because in our next we want to go into a puja sequence, and we won't be able to, I've not yet technically become tech savvy yet to do that, because the puja is such a sacred ritual. You should not sit there and watch as a spectator. You should be feeling that you are doing it as well in your home. So hopefully we'll get there very soon so that you can feel it. I don't want to demean the act of puja by simply having you watch it like a spectator. And therefore, for those of us who are gathered here, we'll offer on all of your behalf, on behalf of every Sai devotee that comes to our mind that we know and we don't know, we will offer, call upon him, invoke him in his majestic divine self, and then we'll offer a few flowers. The Swami would say every flower has to be an expression of your feeling. That's why it's pushpam is such a beautiful thing. So we will offer it with whatever prayer we have for ourselves, for our families, for the world, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We'll offer it at Swami's feet and spend the next 45 minutes to an hour or so in that beautiful meditative communion with the divine. So for those of you who are watching virtually, thank you so much for joining us. Until we meet again, stay blessed, stay inspired. Namaste and loving Sai Ram.